Good day, everyone. Failure not to say good morning or good afternoon. Let me say good day. Yeah, I welcome you once again to the ARZO monthly webinar. Today is the 55th ARZO monthly webinar, where we will be discussing the AfCFTA opportunities for Africa. I am your host, Hermogen Sengimana, Secretary General, African Organization for Standardization. When you talk about AfCFTA opportunities for Africa, today, as the African Organization for Standardization, all the discussion are linked to the quality infrastructure. We will be having 4 topics, one discussing on technical barrier to trade and the sanitary and the phytosanitary issues. We will be having discussions on policy issues, on regulatory issues, and we will be having also discussion on value addition. How can we increase our export using the quality infrastructure? Then we will also now look at the challenges that so far we have encountered in implementation of the AfCFTA agreement, especially in the area of the TBT annex and the SPS annex. In general, how quality infrastructure has performed so far. And today's first speaker is Clementine Mukamana, who is the project coordinator of the African Organization for Standardization. I would like to ask all the participants, if you are a Francophone, we have opportunity to use interpretation. You will see the globe on your platform, your Zoom platform. Yeah, you can choose your language. If it's French, you click French. If it's English, you click English. I will not go through the bio for Clementine Mukamana, and I give her an opportunity to start her presentation. You have maximum 10 minutes. Thank you. Clementine?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Kindly allow me to share my presentation. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, you can put full screen. You can put full screen.
So it's
Yes,
okay
you
now?
can see your presentation. Yeah. If you can
Okay.
also put on your camera, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My presentation will be on the promoting intra-Africa trade under AfCFTA, unlocking the challenges of the TBT and SPS through common regulatory framework, harmonized standards, and effective quality infrastructure, and the law and initiatives of under ARSO. I go in brief about the ARSO. It's an African Organization for Standardization, which has been established in 1997 in Accra, Ghana, formed by African Union and United Nations Economic for Africa, UNECA. Our mandate, we engage in harmonizing standards and development of conformity assessment procedure. So far, we have 42 African government members and 1 observer represented by national standard bodies. And we have 11 which are non-ALSO member. Our mission is to facilitate African industrialization together with the intra-Africa and global trade by providing the harmonized standards and conformity assessment procedures. Our core mandate, we harmonize national and sub-region standards as an African standard with issues related to the bodies and this for this purpose. Also, we do reference with the product which are of interest for the Africa. Also, we do conformity assessment and technical regulations, procedures, where we encourage and facilitate the adoption of international standards by member bodies, or we encourage, engage and facilitate the development of AU member on the technical regulation based on harmonized standard and international standards. We also do capacity building and rich information sharing to our stakeholders. When we look at the AfCFTA agreement, it has its objective and main goals. Here we will look at the key objective of the AfCFTA, where we have, it has to create a single continental market for the goods and service, and with the free movement of business and person. Also, it has a key objective of to expand intra-Africa trade through better harmonization and coordination of the trade liberalization. Also is to resolve the challenges of the multiple and overlapping membership within the regional economic community. So what are the AfCFTA main goals? The main goals is to give companies access to markets, also to help creating more jobs create more jobs needs to each year to accommodate the youth and labor markets. If we look at the requirements, what does AfCFTA require for this agreement to be successful? It requires massive cuts to customs duties, which are a major source of the government revenue. Also, it requires the simplification of the bureaucracy procedure. Also, there's huge investment in roads, railway, digital and finance infrastructure. Also, to address issues of non-tariff barrier to trade, standards, technical regulations, and conformity assessment. Why does Africa need the AfCFTA? So Africa needs AfCFTA to boost the intra-Africa trade. Also, we need this AfCFTA to overcome the infrastructure and regulatory challenges Africa is having. Also, to reduce the cost on protectionism, there's a limit trade restriction that makes regional trade more expensive than international trade. Also, there's cross trade gaps. When you compare the intra-Africa region export, the African continental level with the other continent, we see the intra-Africa export, it's only at 16%. This was in 2017. If you see, we are so far behind with the other continent, where Europe, it has total export at 68, the Asia to 59.4, America 55, and Oceania at 7.5. So AfCFTA offers a big path to strengthen the regional economic size of trade volume. What are the challenges on the TBTS and the SPS measures and the AfCFTA opportunity? Under Annex 6, under TBT and SPS in Annex 7, we have seen the challenges. On the TBT Annex 6, the challenges, we're having the challenges on the standards, where we have no harmonized standards, where you find there's a conflict of the standards at different regional regs, where that's the challenges we're having. Also, there's another challenge on the cost complying with the when it comes to the testing. There is so much higher test in the testing. When you want to move your product to this country, there is no harmonized conformity which can allow you to move your products without testing them again. Also, there's delays in market access because of the processes and slowdown for the trade flow. Also, there is a TBT, SPS measures sometimes used in shelf domestic industrial and guides to safety on the quality. If you look at the opportunity under AfCFTA opportunities, under Annex 6 and 7, there is a regulatory cooperation. Also, there is a harmonization of standards as an opportunity. There's also capacity building and transparency. Also, there is opportunity to boost intra-Africa trade. When you look at the quality infrastructure, there is key element which needs to be taken. At the national level, there is national standard body. At the economic level, we have REX, and regional, we have African Union and AfCFTA, where we have also harmonizing standard and AfCFTA, and also we have international standards. To address the opportunity presented by the AfCFTA, there is existing common regulatory framework at the African level. You can see we have also an AfCFTA, and so we have also and the AfCFTA. This deals with the standardization. We have AfRAC for the accreditation services, and we have a AfRIMEX for the methodology. So for this quality infrastructure, those key pillar institutions are so important to the African continent. What also is doing to contribute to the AfCFTA? The AfCFTA has recognized the contribution of the ALSO in the standard harmonization, and we have been given a mandate to provide the standards where there is no international standards, member to adopt the African standards. So to the contribution of the goals, we have the AfCFTA goals where we have common standards for trade facilitation. We have the elimination of the technical barrier to trade. We have enhanced market access. When you look at the also intervention on the technical barrier to trade, we are harmonizing standards and conformity assessment to eliminate technical barrier to trade, making it easy for goods and service to move to borders. Also,
2 minutes remaining.
Okay, so we have several activities towards the AfCFTA implementation, where we have harmonization standards. Under harmonization standard, we have 2071 African standard has been published. Under AfCFTA, it's another program on conformity assessment and regulatory guideline. We have other program on the capacity building and awareness creation activity. We have also DISNET on the information technology and communication and awareness creation. Also, we have also CACO, and we have policy where we have document at African continent. So far, the published standards by category, we have 15 category in the 15th sector, where we have harmonized total standard of 2171 standard to address those challenges. Also, we have under certification and the qualifying products, we have also conformity assessment, where we have 2 also quality mark. We have eco mark, and we have also quality mark, which deals with the product which conforms to harmonized African standards. And this EMA deals with the sustainability standards. In conclusion, to this, the protocol on the trade and good in the AfCFTA agreement emphasize on the removal of TBTs to facilitate free move of goodness, free movement of goods, and support the implementation of standards among the states. REX and UNECA have identified high impact priority, which would play a significant role on Africa trade within AfCFTA. If the standards are harmonized and utilized as instrument of trade by member states, there is more work to be done for Africa to achieve its vision, such as there's so much awareness on the harmonization process which needs to be done. There's a promote to the African adoption and implementation of African harmonized standards. Also, there is needs to strengthening the regulatory systems, also to promote local manufacturing and SMEs to boost the local economy, create jobs, opportunity. Also, there is need to adequate human resource for the capacity. So thank you. That was my end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Clementine, for your good presentation. I saw data that ARZO has published 171 standards. I would like to know if that is enough when you look at the AfCFTA and the tariff lines within the AfCFTA. How far can you say that ARZO is there, or at which level?
Thank you, ST. Oh, if you look at the tariff line of AfCFTA, where they have more than 4,000 product standard which needs to be developed to be harmonized. We are, if I say we are like at 50, which we need to put more effort to harmonize more standards on the product standard for the benefits of the African continent. Thank you.
Meaning there is more work to do for different product standards within the AfCFTA tariff lines. And how do you include the private sector, which are the users and the main beneficiary for the AfCFTA in the work of ARZO?
In the work of ARZO, what we do for the SME, we are doing we are promoting the standards, and by promoting the standard, we are reaching out to the SMEs, and we are doing advocacy to the available standard which are there, so they can be adopted and implemented, and also they can have the information on what is available and which standard they should use while they are manufacturing or produce their products.
Does the private sector participate in the standardization work?
Yes, of course. In the standardization work, we make sure we have those stakeholders from the industry to be to come and participate and contribute to the work of harmonization of standards.
Maybe lastly, you mentioned the two marks, two ARZO marks. What is the difference? I saw the one for sustainability eco mark, the other one you said the quality mark.
For the ARZO quality mark, it's a mark we are to certify a product which comply with the African standards and product standards. And for EcoMark, it's a quality which related to the sustainability standards. Those one also. Thank you.
Yeah, is the one those ones are the ones you said you are supporting SMEs?
Yes, we have several activities supporting SME and those two marks where we are engaging them to assess themselves if they can comply with African standards, so they can be certified to have those marks. Also, they will make them to access to the global market.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Clementine. Yeah, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Laura Hostler. We will be discussing with us on leveraging Africa's AfCFTA trade and coherent regulatory opportunities, quality infrastructure development for the AfCFTA. She's the senior advisor in PTB for international cooperation for sub-Saharan Africa. Laura, she has a big experience in the quality infrastructure. I will not go once again on the projected short bio. And I will call again our participant. You can use interpretation by looking at the globe that is on your platform and choose your appropriate language, either French or English. Laura, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give me 1 second to share my screen. You should now all be able to see the presentation.
Yes, you have
thank
10
you.
minutes. We can see the presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. And as was announced, I'm here to, on behalf of PTB, to talk about our support, our capacity development for the development of the African Continental Free Trade Area, especially on the policy and strategy level. So some of you might not know what or who PTB is. PTB is the National Metrology Institute of Germany, metrology, of course, being the science of measurement. So PTB as an organization, of course, is in charge of the dissemination of the legal units of the international system of units, so the second, the kilogram, and so on, within Germany, but also internationally. So we work closely with the economy. We work with science. We have many scientific cooperations and projects going on, always trying to further develop metrology. Then, of course, with society, metrology for consumer protection. And then in international matters, of course, we are active at the level of the international metrology organizations to engage and to further cooperation. And then also in technical cooperation. So we have projects funded by the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, where we work really mostly on this question of trade facilitation and basically the elimination of technical barriers to trade to improve and to foster sustainable development. So on that term, technical barriers to trade, of course, it's a crucial issue when we look at developing the African Continental Free Trade Area and at really implementing the agreement. Clementine has mentioned that we have a specific annex on this topic also within the AfCFTA, and really what it's all about is always to balance the preservation of rights to regulate at the national level with avoiding unnecessary or discriminatory barriers to trade. So really to facilitate fair and safe trade. And the way that we have to do this is to ensure that our technical regulations at the national level, the standards that were also mentioned, and the conformity assessment systems and procedures are based on international best practice so that they do not create unnecessary barriers. What you can see here on the right is a graph from the PACI publication on the TBT or Quality Infrastructure Situation from 2023. You can see only the dark green ones are those countries that really have a mature, so to say, well-developed quality infrastructure. For all the others, there's still a way to go, which is why we believe it is crucial to really keep supporting this matter, which we do among other projects in the context of our cooperation with the African Union and the AfCFTA Secretariat. It's a project that we call Upgrading Quality Infrastructure in Africa. Our approach is really to combine short-term specific consultancy with long-term process consultancy. We support specifically the AUC and AfCFTA Secretariat, and we like to cite or call the approach from policy to practice. So really to support the development of adequate policies, which are easily or which can be well brought to practice, which is also something that we like to accompany when we can. So I will give 2 examples on the next few slides. And of course, what is also important to us is the close coordination with other implementing agencies like UNIDO that we will hear from in a minute. You've seen this graph that Clementine also used it. I think what I want to show here is a bit what is important to us in our approach, to always make sure that down the line, from the international level to the national level, we make sure that we cooperate and we share the responsibilities, and we make sure that we work in an efficient manner so that there's no doubling of efforts. Whenever something is already there that we can use at the regional, at the continental level, from the international level, that we do use it, and only wherever necessary, we adapt our strategies, our tools to the specific context. And then again, at the national level, it's important that there is an knowledge about the international good practice, about the international experiences, but there's also the need to really adapt into the context on a needs-based manner, depending on the local economy, on the local availabilities, where you can start, what new standards, for example, technical regulations you can set up, because what we can say from experience, it doesn't work to work everywhere all at once. We need to find really needs-based and strategic approaches to develop one step after another the national quality infrastructure. And then also, of course, the context of the AfCFTA based on priority sectors to start one after the other. And at PTB, of course, we also look at the regional and international level. We have different other projects, and we always make sure that we interlink them so that everything goes well together. Now, I was mentioning the strategies. One, of course, the Africa Quality Policy is one that we have in our previous project accompanied the development, the whole process from scratch, from designing it, from discussing why is it necessary, what is it necessary, what exactly do we need in terms of an Africa quality policy. And we believe that it has been a success because the policy is used to facilitate the implementation of standards and quality requirement of the AfCFTA at the continental level. It is, of course, oriented towards international best practice. And we have also developed a guide that helps to align national quality policies with this Africa quality policy. And then recently, the topic that we work a lot on, and that was also mentioned by Hermogene, is the question of regulatory cooperation. So the challenge really when we look at technical regulations is that, of course, or the challenge, but also the benefit is that they are made at the national level. There's some exceptions in the EAC, I know, but mostly technical regulations are developed and enforced at the national level, which is, of course, the right of each and every government. But they can, through this mechanism, of course, technical barriers to trade can be developed and already exist. So if I, as an exporter, if I have difficulty understanding the finding out information about the technical regulation in the other state, or if it's then totally different than the technical regulation within my state, so which would mean that I have to change my product, or I have to change my process to be able to export it, that of course makes trade more difficult. So we believe it is crucial to coordinate, and one way which you can go to make sure that your technical regulations are similar or the same is to use international standards like ARSO standards and or ISO standards within your technical regulations, to reference them in a way that you know that in the other state, the same standard is referenced, which means that it is easier for me to follow all the technical regulations from the different states. And so we support awareness raising on this topic and the development or alignment process of national technical regulatory frameworks. We have supported the development of the African continental framework, which really gives indication of how to use these best practices that already exist. And we have an upcoming ISO cooperation together with ARSO as well to support the national level here in this regard. Finally, I want to say a few words about an example of a value chain-based approach. I mentioned before that we believe really when it comes to the quality infrastructure and development, we shouldn't try to develop everything at the same time. We should find a starting point of a product or a sector where we need quality infrastructure and start from there. And one of these examples is the cassava value chain. I think you all know that it's a highly relevant crop for consumption also in many African countries. And with this project that we launched several years ago, the idea was to boost trade volumes and consumer protection by improving the quality of cassava and cassava products. We started with a gap analysis and needs assessment to really make sure, well, are there quality issues? If so, which are the quality issues? How can quality infrastructure help in that regard? And then out of that, we developed a number of activities. And we also hosted or organized a big conference that was hosted in Nigeria, where then also recommendations for further steps were developed. And just to give you on my last slide some examples of activities that we supported there. Of course, the harmonization of standards, like the ones mentioned here on the slide. We supported the implementation of trainings, for example, on certification systems that are related to cassava. And we also supported the AfriMIT's proficiency testing scheme on mycotoxins and toxic and nutritional elements in cassava flour. So this was just a spotlight from my side. Happy to hear your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura, for being meteorological on using the time. Yeah, it was exactly 10 minutes. Yeah, just looking at what Clementine presented, yeah, they are harmonized standard. And I see the actions of PTB at national level, at REC level, at continental level, even at international level, like the work you mentioned between the ISO, ARSO, and the national level technical regulations. I want to understand. You presented one of the last slides on cassava. Yeah. And if a country comes now and tell you that, oh, I need to develop a cassava standard. Yeah, would you say, okay, just I have money as a German government, you can develop the standard, or you would say, yeah, the good principles is probably to look at what you have at continental level to avoid unnecessary barriers, you said, to trade at the end of the day. What is your take? Because a country is coming directly asking you for such a support.
Yeah, exactly. The answer would be, yeah, we can support you in implementing the existing standards, which we are sure should fit to your context. If what could always come up, I mean, cassava is just an example, but for any standards, of course, what is crucial is that also the national standards bodies are able to interact also with the international level if they see that there is an issue. Maybe the standard was designed in a way that is not relevant to a specific context, or that oftentimes we have these issues where standards are developed and the standard makers were thinking of a specific weather situation, and then in another context the situation is totally different, the temperatures are different, and the standard doesn't fit. So something that is also really important to us is to support the participation of national standards bodies and national experts in international standardization, so that they can also if there is a need, adapt the standards and give feedback really on how they can be made even more relevant. But of course, I think also what's crucial is really to avoid double work, because for a lot of sectors, a lot of areas, good international or good continental, in this case, practice is already there, and it's just about making it known.
Comes now to my last question. Yeah, you support a lot, not just on standard development. You have shown what you did on the cassava value chain with different Pan-African Equality Infrastructure Organization. I am interested to know, yeah, if we probably the end game, if we look at the AfCFTA, is to see those SMEs in cassava, those private sector in cassava accessing the market. Yeah. What do you think should be done now to access the market? Yeah. I am looking at connecting the first presentation and your presentation. If now we have the quality mark there, the ARZO mark that's it can showcase that you comply to African mark. Do you think it's something that you can link? Yeah, as you have a project that has achieved something and move towards now showcasing that it complies and can access the AfCFTA market?
Yeah, I'm sure we can link on different levels. I think a crucial topic that I haven't talked about so much is always awareness raising, of course, awareness raising on government level to make sure that the great initiatives that are there are also recognized, that there are no technical regulations at the government level which would then oppose or not fit with the existing quality marks, for example, existing regional or continental quality marks. So that's always key to inform governments, because mostly government officials, they have a lot of different topics that they need to work on. They are in 99% of the case not quality infrastructure experts. So we need to make sure that we are able to explain what we are all about and why the topics are relevant. And then, of course, capacity building at the SME level, at the also at the level of trade facilitation whenever it comes to border posts and all these issues. There's, of course, a lot of different areas where capacity building is necessary. And there, again, I come to the question of prioritizing. And that I think it can be very useful to start along such a value chain-based approach. Yeah.
Very, very potent. The sensitization, because there is also the turnout issues that you sensitize one today, tomorrow is another person. Continuous sensitization in that area and the value chain approach. Thank you very much for your presentation. If we get time, I will probably check if our participant, you can use the chat box and ask questions if you need some more clarification or if you have observation. Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much for your presentation. Our next speaker is Aka Kwasi, who is the Chief Technical Advisor for ACP Quality Infrastructure Program in UNIDO. He will be discussing with us the AfCFTA implementation, building productive capacities under the AfCFTA for export-oriented manufacturing, value addition, and the regional value chains, and the benefits to women, SMEs, and youth. Aka, mon frère, tu peux commencer. You can unmute. Dan, you can unmute him. Dan, are you able to unmute him?
Okay. Thank you very much. It's the third time we meet since this morning, Dr. Omojen. I'll try to do like my friend from my friend Laura to present something rapid. Do you see my screen?
You can put full screen, yes.
Okay. So you have recalled our intervention, the topic, and UNIDO has to talk about the perspective and initiative regarding the building productive capacity in the framework of the AfCFTA. So my intervention, I will rapidly present, introduce UNIDO, then try to see what is the link between productive capacity in the case and the situation of the AfCFTA, and finish by talking about UNIDO perspective and initiative in building productive capacity in support to the implementation of the AfCFTA. Regarding UNIDO, I will not be too long, but it is to show you that our main priority contribute to implementing the AfCFTA. For example, one of the main areas is supporting a sustainable supply chain, limiting climate breakdown, and ending hunger. And we are doing this by technical cooperation, action-oriented research, normative standard, fostering partnership. So you see that we are the institution that can support implementing the AfCFTA. And UNIDO is present practically everywhere in Africa, having many projects relating to trade and competitiveness. So coming back to what we have been requested to talk about, normally I should not intervene, and it is one of our colleague that is specialized in this domain, but they are all in mission, and I have been requested to make this presentation. So productive capacity is a multi-dimensional concept. It is talking about economic performance, and we have one UNIDO institution, UNTAC, that had developed a productive capacity index to allow countries for benchmarking, monitoring, and measuring progress. And this refers to the productive resources, entrepreneurial capacities, and production linkages that collectively determine a country's ability to produce goods and services essential for its growth and development. And this productive capacity will be also essential for export and value chain participation. So what is productive capacity from what can we say from the AfCFTA? As you know, the AfCFTA, as we have agreed for a free trading between African countries, and the implementation of this AfCFTA will need the increase of productive capacities of the African country and in general of the entire region. But the AfCFTA helps lowering economic barrier, but not necessarily artificially created trade barriers such as regulation and standards that have been developed by my predecessors. And for this, you know that Annexes 6 and 7 related to TBT and SPS measures aim to solve non-tariff barriers matters to support the implementation of the AfCFTA. But only sufficiently productive firms can overcome such trade barrier. So for the AfCFTA will increase demand for skilled labor, and it will be important to focus policy on women and youth to increase their employability, both as such as future employees and entrepreneurs. So what can be the contribution of UNIDO to implement this? UNIDO technical assistance will be needed, especially for SMEs to design policy to develop productive capacity to rise firms' productivity levels, such as invest in skilled human capital, invest in fixed access, invest in technology, and build policy capacity to help policymakers design and formulate evidence-based policy that allow firms to reap the benefit of the AfCFTA. There's also the necessity to build a policy capacity to strengthen the policy ecosystem and enhance the policymakers' process, and also build capacity to allow for a coordinated and inclusive policy process. Another need, another support that UNIDO can do is to design and implement policies to develop national, regional, and continental quality infrastructure to implement annexes 6 and 7 of the AfCFTA relative to TBT and SPS measures. And you have seen that in this domain, PTB has done a lot to supporting African Union to establish all the existing institutions in quality. For example, regarding this aspect, UNIDO has already implemented and has some project ongoing regarding the support to build capacity in productive to build productive capacity. For example, we have implemented recently the West Africa Competitiveness Program at ECOWAS, in the region of ECOWAS, where we have both supported the establishment of the reinforcement of the quality infrastructure, as well as to reinforce the capacity of enterprises to propose in the market, African market and external market, products that are competitive. We are now implementing another program that is called Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific Business Friendly Program that has two components, one on investment and the other one that is the Quality Infrastructure Development Program that we are now implementing in Africa with the collaboration and the support of ARSO. We are based in Nairobi with ARSO, and we are implementing this activity in collaboration with AUC and the PACI institution. And there is a last program that is called Africa Trade Competitiveness and Market Access Program, ATCMAP, with a budget, the total budget of 200 million euro funded by European Union. And this program is supporting Africa, and I can say that it's supporting to implement the AfCFTA by supporting the quality infrastructure at both continental level and sub-regional level, as well as national level. And it is also supporting the reinforcement of the capacities of the firms to take benefit of this open market in Africa by proposing competitive products in this market. Thank you very much. I hope that I've done the same like Laura. Thank you very much.
Yes, you did it perfectly. Yeah. You should be in metrology. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I am happy to see the 200 millions. Yeah, on this TCMA, on market access and the trade competitiveness. If I look at the previous presentation and what you presented, yeah, Aka, are you telling us that what is lacking is not money for our SMEs for this increasing productivity and getting support for market access? You are telling us we come to you as UNIDO, European Union has given the money, then our SMEs, I can give you now a list of SMEs. Are you telling us that?
Yeah, the money is will not be sufficient in all the domain, but here we are working on with the approach of a value chain. We have selected regional value chain on which we are working, and yeah, the money is available if these enterprises is having intervention link to this value chain. So
if
for
you can mention a few, probably, yeah. For those value chain, is some of the value chains are.
yeah, for example, regarding the ACP program, we are working with the support of ARSO. We have selected, and this value chain was selected with the support of ARSO and PACI institution. For example, it is agricultural product and food, transportation, and I think that eco-labeling. And for example, for this, the process is to check when we take one value chain, if there is a need to developing standard, if there is a need to developing eco mark, if there is a need to supporting conformity assessment bodies, laboratories, etc. And if some enterprises, pilot enterprises, we cannot take all the enterprises. If pilot enterprises are selected, how we can support them to implement standard developed by ARSO and assessment assessed by the existing conformity assessment system, etc., etc. This is the way of working. So if this enterprise enter this group of need, the enterprise can benefit from the money available.
Yeah, I think it's very important. As you mentioned, if those value chains are in agriculture, it's the agro processing is the number one on the priority sectors for the AfCFTA. I think it's very important for getting the support. If probably looking at that, you mentioned there were comp in ECOWAS. Well, what are the lesson learned? Yeah, in ECOWAS for helping different value chain in ECOWAS region to access the market.
Yeah, the experience of ECOWAS, we had our intervention was, we had a regional intervention, sub-regional intervention, and the specific national intervention. For the regional intervention, we had selected 4 regional value chain on which we have worked. Okay, and this regional value chain, we proceeded the same way I presented to you, a standard to be developed, and we, for example, we established a certification mark to implement this standard, and then apart from that, we had particular domain, particular value chain selected by each country where they have to export, they have a big need of exportation, etc. And we had particular support provided for each of the countries. What the lesson that I learned is that all these systems should be linked. Yeah. if, for example, a value chain is selected at the level of African Union, also, for example, developing a standard, this standard had to be implemented by enterprises. And we have to see what is to be done at the level of, at continental level, what should be done at regional level, and what should be done at a national level. That's why the coming program I told you about, we have to clearly identify the role and responsibility at each of the levels. This is important. And another lesson to learn is that once a standard had been adopted, when you want to implement, you need a strong quality infrastructure in the region. The region where we, the countries where we had a strong quality, existing strong operational quality infrastructure, it was easier to implement the standard, while for the others, it was a problem. So there is a need to encourage the implementation of, for example, the African quality policy at regional level and at national level, and help support the countries to build their own national quality policy. If not, they cannot take profit, entire profit of the African market. Because, okay.
Thank you very much. That is really key, as you said. Yeah, in the region, in the countries where the quality infrastructure was developed, it was very easier to implement the program. That's also, it shows how important the map that Aurora was showing on the status of the TBT at quality infrastructure at continental level. The map where we had the deep green and light green and the yellow and red countries. It's very important that we should aim of greening Africa. Maybe we should have a project on greening Africa, not greening on environmental point of view, greening Africa on quality infrastructure point of view. Thank you very much. Thank you a lot. I would like to ask participants, you can check a message sent by Ben Hedley. Ben Hedley on the SMEs standards use case studies in Kenya, Uganda, and Ghana. You can check and you can download those documents. I think they are good. They can be good for you. And you can also check the message from Christian who did a study with OECD supported by PTB on technical regulations issues. If you can stop sharing, Aka. Yeah, our next speaker is Susan Munyiri Ocheng, who is the senior advisor on TBT trade in goods and competition in the AfCFTA Secretariat. Once again, I will not go through in reading her bio, and she will be discussing with us the AfCFTA prospects and opportunities for Africa's economic diversification, industrialization, and sustainable development, the AfCFTA implementation, progress, challenges, and strategies going forward. Susan, the platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Allow me to share my screen. Okay. My topic has been made easier.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you. Mine has been made easier by the earlier presenters, because what I'm going to deal with is what they have already tackled in one way or another. So I'll just look briefly at the implementation and progress of the AfCFTA and then go on to the challenges and the strategies that we have. And through the presentation, I will probably just highlight on what's happening in the on matters that impact this discussion, and that is the Annex 5, which is on NTBs, Annex 6, which is TBT, and Annex 7, which is the SPS Annex of the agreement. So looking at the free trade area, we know that ours is the largest trade area, covering 1.4 billion people, of course, with a GDP of now probably greater than 3.4 trillion. And we know that the AfCFTA is actually a key strategic driver towards delivering the AU Agenda 2063. Now, the agreement was signed in March 2018 and operationalized by having 22 state parties then in 2019. And thereafter, what happened? COVID hit, but nevertheless, trading commenced in January 2021. Due to the slow uptake, there was a guided trade initiative that was mooted in 2022, more or less like a hand-holding process to enable businesses trade across border. And that saw traction, and we are now back to ensuring that we actually deliver the AfCFTA as provided for in the agreement. I believe we are proud to say that as at March 2025, there have been 49 state parties that have ratified this agreement. So we are just waiting for the other, these 6 or so to come on board. But this is a reality. And I put up this slide specifically because I saw a statement saying, what is AfCFTA? What's happening? That is where we are. Now, the key objectives, of course, and these have been echoed by the first presenter, to boost intra-African trade, and that is key. We need to trade with each other. You saw the statistics that were presented. They are not very good, but they're improving, and we know we can do better, and we have the potential. And then enhance competitiveness and industrialization, of course, because the more we trade and move products across borders, we then, of course, enhance the value addition process to be able to better our products, and that enhances the industrialization agenda that AU has. Of course, promote economic diversification and value addition, as I have said, and foster sustainable and inclusive development. Having everyone on board, be it youth, be it women. Now, the prospect for economic growth and diversification, our focus is to reduce dependency on raw commodity exports, where we export, as we have seen, and most of the literature has, we export more of our raw materials and then we bring in finished product. And that usually doesn't, I mean, the trade balances and the deficit is actually quite high. There was an article that I was reading, written by, I think it was Professor Bitang Ndemo, and I saw almost a similar article written about Egypt regarding mangoes, where we produce mangoes. We actually do export mangoes, but we bring in fresh, mango juice that has already been processed into the country. Why are we doing that? Can't we actually do that conversion? The case for Professor Bitange said, mangoes are there, but because of our post-harvest losses, we really don't get value out of it that can actually go into production, an actual production activity to produce juice. Now, there's a focus on, of course, key sectors here, agro-processing being key, and the facilitator, SG, mentioned that. There's a focus on pharmaceuticals. We know we are heavy importers of pharmaceuticals from out of the continent, and then automotive, transport, logistics, and there are many others. There's even a focus on textile and leather. And then the new trade corridors and enabling supply chains, ensuring that we are able to manage the movement of products across borders, across regions. Again, I'm happy to quote an article that was published the other day with respect to an air corridor being created amongst countries on the continent. The challenge to us as technical persons is that when that is enabled, when the logistics are made easier, are we then the persons who are the gatekeepers in receipt of product in our continent, becoming an impediment in facilitating intra-Africa trade? Then, of course, integration of SMEs into broader markets. And the story of SMEs, we will keep saying it until, the chicken come home to roost, because SMEs are the backbone of our economies. They may be small, but the moment they are grouped into organized production spheres, then the value is immense within them. So the key is to provide support for regional value chains in the sectors that are of interest. And then, of course, we desire that the industrial policies that are focused on innovation, skills, and research and development. Again, the focus here, when you're talking about, for example, leather, the discussion around leather has been that, yes, we produce leather, we convert it to a certain point, and then we ship it for finished goods to be produced elsewhere. Because our designs are not right, we do not have the technical capability the skill to be able to design what our consumers want within the continent. Can we build that? Yes. Can we have a level where we actually enhance the competence within our region? Yes. The ball is in our court for us to be able to fill in the gaps that would enable us to get to a level where we get our finished product produced on the continent. And then the role, of course, of special economic zones and industrial parks and aggregation areas, and this, a place where you can actually pull in and use economies of scale to be able to produce economically. Now, the pathways to sustainable development, and not just sustainable development, but also economic value derivation, lies in functional quality infrastructure, because without trust, and I say quality infrastructure equals trust, it provides for that pyramid of someone trusting that what you're giving me is actually what you have stated that you have given me. So if I produce a product here, and I'm saying that product meets requirements in this standard, and I'm giving it to you, or I'm selling it to you in a different economy, we should be able to accept that. But the basis of acceptance needs to be clearly specified, so that even the regulators in that economy are comfortable that they are protecting the lives of the people they are responsible for. Of course, leveraging green industrialization and circular economy, and then policies that support inclusive growth, that is the youth and gender equity. Digital trade has been in the voice of everyone who talks about the future. We cannot talk about future without talking about the digital aspect. But again, to a certain extent, you also find that there's digitization when it comes to standards development, there's digitization when it comes to conformity assessment. How are we playing in that space to ensure that we are moving with the rest of the world? And then, of course, investment in QI, that is standards development, conformity assessment, and accreditation. And I would want to stress on, we are seeing work happening on standards development. We would want to see work in terms of establishing credible conformity assessment on the continent, because right now there's actually a big gap in terms of, can I rely on the results from a test house A or an inspection body B without necessarily having gone through the rigor of the recognition arrangements that we are putting in. So the challenges that we have as a continent, we know about our infrastructure gaps, but we also have, as we are moving away from dealing with tariff matters, we are now having non-tariff barriers creeping in. And we are players in that space, because when you're talking about barriers to trade, some of them are either, comes from the standards that we are using. They would come from the conformity assessment activity that is applied. They may come from a technical regulation. And it is good for us to be having this discussion. And I'm happy that ARSO is active in this field, where we ask ourselves, is we are harmonizing this standard? Will that standard apply? Have we domesticated it? Are we using it? Are the conformity assessment requirements that are provided either in the standard or in the technical regulation just? Do we have a way in which we actually confirm that what has actually been assessed is okay? Can I take that product without necessarily doing another check, another test? We also need regulatory alignment across the regional economic blocks to be able, to trade effectively and to move products and or even services across borders effectively. We need to enhance, of course, we have weak productive capacities, and of course, so the grouping around SMEs to be able to get economies of scale, and also having the vertical linkages across the value chain, where you know where you're going to get your raw material from, and you already have a ready market elsewhere. Are activities that we need to be able to draw and guide, for example, SMEs appropriately. There's limited awareness amongst private sector and SMEs on how they can harness the benefits that are arising from the AfCFTA, where they can find information. Yeah, and such awareness sessions are important. And of course, I talked about trust issues arising from an underdeveloped quality infrastructure. And you saw the chart that Laura put up. We need to be able to green Africa let me use the SDGs word, with respect to quality infrastructure. So just a bit on the solutions. One, aligning our export strategies to the AfCFTA objectives, so that we are all rallying the core and ensuring that the AfCFTA works for us and sees the light of day. We need to build trade infrastructure and logistic networks, of course. Fast track harmonization of standards. We were told we are 50% fulfilling the tariff lines that are in place. We still have 50% to go. And so there's work for us that we need to do. We need to build capacity for credible conformity assessment. Do we have adequate capacity to test, inspect, certify? Can our results from testing, inspection, and certification be accepted across border? What is the basis of the acceptance? Is it accreditation? And what is that accreditation embedded on? Is it mutually recognized? So we need to work in that space. And then, of course, encourage regional value chain development. Another area is to enthuse regulatory convergence. And the earlier speaker spoke about the technical regulatory framework. We are happy that the partners on this call have, PTB specifically, has actually supported the continental technical regulatory framework. We are rolling that out and expecting that state parties will be able to use the guidance information to be able to come up with national technical regulatory frameworks that are, harmonized in a way that we are able to be looking at the same thing in our territories or in our economies. As we know, it is an economy's role to regulate, and we can't impose. But if we can harmonize our approach and have frameworks that can speak to each other, then we'll be doing a very good job. Then, of course, the AfCFTA MRA. Some of you may ask, why are we rallying the call on this? The text in our agreement is what I would say is a gentleman's agreement. It's while it is binding, it uses words like promote, enhance, and sometimes it comes to a point where yes, all we are doing is promoting and enhancing, but we are not taking each other to task. And so we need to be able to commit to having an agreement that accepts conformity assessment results across territories that, of course, are aligned to the pyramid of trust, having been assessed, peer evaluated, and based on the recognition that is accepted on the continent. And then strengthen industrial clusters and SME linkages, and of course, promote regional investment in infrastructure. So, having said that, this is what I would want to put up as a call to action, that effective implementation hinders on strategic national policies. Of course, as the AfCFTA Secretariat, there's so much we can do. We can provide guidance, we can help build capacities, but the ultimate implementation is on the state party itself. So how that is domesticated and how we ensure that that fulfills the requirements of both the economy as well as the region is really driven by the parties within this, by the state parties. Then coordinated action across stakeholders is critical. So all the players need to pull in the right direction. As I talked about economies of scale, supporting SMEs, having industrial hubs, having economic zones, that will enable have a central point of call. And that will help because in that case, if there is a need, for example, for a quality assessment, a quality infrastructure support within that hub, it's easier rather than dealing with small establishments all across. And then, of course, we desire a pull from private sector. It is no longer state parties pushing. The people who want to trade is the private sector. It is the SMEs. We want to see them being active. We want them to challenge us on what they would expect us to do. And so the feedback that comes with the interaction of our systems, the engagements that we have, the guidance documents we have, is important to enable us move forward. And last but not least, establish a functional quality infrastructure that is fit for the continent, that can enable trade, that can move us to the 16-18% that we currently are talking about, to values that we've never imagined, because we can actually move mountains when the quality infrastructure is functional and operational. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susan. I think more than 230 experts on this webinar. Can take from your presentation, I can see like 20 projects that I can start right now. Looking at integration of SMEs in the broader market. Actually, I can say like the core of action, like the private sector should be the center because they are the one benefiting. And then I also saw the solutions you are proposing. Actually, for point of correction, the harmonization is at 18.3%, not at 50. Yeah, it's 18.3%. There is a lot to do for harmonization, and one of the solution is fast tracking harmonization of standard. But it's something intriguing. Something intriguing that is linking to also what UNIDO was talking about. The quality infrastructure. Having this new project we talked about in this webinar, Greening Africa. How you said investing investing in quality infrastructure. What do you see as the role of private sector? Because there is no way that the government will continue alone to invest in quality infrastructure. What do you see as the role of private sector?
Sector is very key when it comes to playing in the quality infrastructure space. And as you said, government can only invest so much when it comes to, for example, testing, inspection, certification. Private sector have a key role in filling in the gap that exists in our economies. And this is because for any productive activity, you will either require to test, inspect, or certify a raw material. You may require to certify or inspect production activities or finished product. So there will be need for a conformity assessment activity. And it doesn't matter which sector. There is no sector that can actually say they do not have a conformity assessment activity. Each sector, even if you talk about communication, there's measurement of airtime or whatever it is. There's a validation of what is actually claimed. All those are conformity assessment activities. So what private sector needs to do is just see where the need is and be able to plug in, because whereas there is a need, there will still be, it is a chargeable activity, so to speak. We need credibility with respect to how they test, how they inspect, or how they certify. And that is why then you have the accreditation bodies in the economies coming in to verify that what they actually claim to do, they are doing it. And those results, once they fall within the accreditation arm that is under mutual recognition, would be accepted. And so the plea here would be that as private sector invests in the conformity assessment space, can government entities accept the results from the private sector through accreditation, through recognition?
Money anyway. They get money. Yeah, at the
Exactly.
end of the day. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
The other part is probably what when I see what Clementine was presenting on the cost, yeah, the cost on compliance. I see also probably the investing on-site small laboratories, yeah, to have good verification. Then they know if they are going for probably testing in the laboratories that for certification, they are able to understand that we are not losing our time, we comply. Yeah, that is also something that probably we should think of if we are talking about putting SMEs together, helping them. Yeah, I think if you have a word on that, yeah, what do you think about it? On-site small laboratories.
On-site small laboratories are fine. You even go an extra mile and say mobile laboratories, because they are laboratories on the wheel, which, so long as the credibility of tests or measurements can be ascertained, no one stops you. The mobile lab will move from point A to B, serving the SME need. What we need
Yes.
is the assurance of the test result coming from that mobile unit. And that,
The,
through
That is
accreditation,
very important. Yes, through
should serve
accreditation. Then now I would also like the issue of the technical regulation framework, the work you are doing now to align at the national technical regulation framework, but most importantly, the AfCFTA mutual recognition agreement. It's important the issue you are talking about. If we are talking MRA, the accreditation part is is very key. Yeah, and how do you see the accreditation system at the continental level? Yeah, and the acceptability of our system. If you go to, let's say, what we, all of us, I think we have been to hospitals. I go to hospitals, I see accreditation of the bodies which are not from the continent. Is it because we don't cover the scopes? Yeah, then now I look at the areas of priority you have put on one of slide: automotive, pharmaceuticals. Are we going now? Yes, laboratories, let's invest. Then I call an accreditation body from far away, 1,000 kilometers, and while they are accreditation bodies at continental level. Why do we see that?
Well, unless there isn't competence on our continent, which I would want to dispute heavily, because when you look at the framework for accreditation, the continent is fairly well covered. There may be few accreditation bodies, but within these few accreditation bodies, there are two that are what you call multi-economy accreditation bodies, servicing more than, for example, 13. One services more than 13 countries, another one services 8 countries. Now, the scope for which the accreditation is capable, body is capable of handling, are clearly known, and AFRAC, which is the African Accreditation Corporation, can actually provide that information, and it's there on their website. So when you see a conformity assessment body right now seeking services from an accreditation body that is outside, away from the continent, you may find for a product that it is a trade arrangement for which that scope is not covered amongst the accreditation bodies on the continent. But and it's a market-specific requirement, so to speak. But you will find that right now, because we find testing is covered to a very high level, inspection is covered, certification is covered, even including certification of persons now, in addition to product, it's covered by most of the accreditation bodies. We are now covering, I think, validation and verification, which was not one of the scopes that was active on the continent. And so
yes.
the capacity, the capability, and the competence is with us. Let us look for the solutions within the continent. They are there. We will find them.
Thank you very much. In a way, I can relate to the raw commodity that you were talking about. We are producing and we are not consuming. Even on service issues, we have those bodies, but we are not using them. Thank you very much for your presentation. There is one question from Francis on what strategies are being put in place to assist the reduction in raw materials export by African nation, and Punam has replied that Punam is from the AfCFTA, is in charge of NTBs. The AfCFTA has ongoing works on validation in particular sectors. There is a department that focuses in this area. That was one of the questions that I saw I should bring on the table. Thank you very much, my panelists. In closing, I would like to ask each of you, what is the takeaway message? Starting from Clementine, what is the takeaway message we can go with for this webinar?
Thank you, SG. My takeaway message is on the harmonization of standards. Although also has made a significant progress on the harmonizing standards, there's still a long way to go. So there's still much to be done. So we need to pull together to have this AfCFTA become a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Clementine. Yeah, for striking harmonization of standard. Laura, what is your takeaway message?
Thank you. Yeah, my takeaway would be that while the capacity, there's a lot of capacities, a lot of activities that we need to develop in the future, so much is already there. We have experts available in the quality infrastructure institutions, in the African ones. We have experts, of course, at the AfCFTA Secretariat within the AU Commission. International good practice is there, ideas are there of how to adapt to the specific context. So we already have a richness, so to say, that we can build upon, which of course is great.
Thank you. We have the tools. We should utilize those tools. Thank you, Laura. Aka, quel est le message qu'on peut partir avec?
If you want me to continue in French, I can do it.
Yes, because the interpreter for French did not do anything. Elle n'a pas fait son travail aujourd'hui. C'est juste les anglophones.
Ok, donc je vais le laisser travailler un peu. Pour moi, ce qu'on peut tirer en ce qui concerne l'ONUDI de ce webinaire, d'abord, on voudrait vous féliciter de cette opportunité. C'est que l'ONUDI, de par ses missions déjà, doit contribuer grandement à la mise en œuvre de la cause LECAF. Et il le fait déjà à travers les programmes qui ont déjà été développés ou qui sont en cours. Mais dans le domaine particulier de la qualité, nous voyons qu'au niveau continental, il y a beaucoup qui a été fait. Et des institutions sont en place, notamment les institutions du PACI. On voit que le secrétariat de la ZLECAF est aussi en train de travailler à développer. Et ce que je note, c'est que les différents programmes qui sont en train d'être menés par l'ONUDI sont en train de prendre en compte ce qui est déjà en cours. Et l'ONUDI est prête à continuer de travailler dans ce sens et à accompagner la mise en œuvre de toutes ces actions, notamment à mettre en œuvre les actions, le plan d'action identifié par le PACI. Donc, nous serons heureux de continuer à mener ce combat avec toutes les autres institutions, notamment le PTB et puis ITC. Donc, voilà, on vous remercie de cette opportunité.
Merci beaucoup. Vous allez continuer à être les bons partenaires dans ce cadre-là de l'infrastructure qualité. Merci beaucoup. Susan, what is the takeaway message?
Sorry, I was on mute. Mine is to tag along what you tasked. Greening Africa with respect to quality infrastructure. My take is that quality infrastructure is the backbone of the AfCFTA. Having dealt with all the hard issues, we need to be able to ensure that the quality infrastructure becomes the next impetus for moving the AfCFTA from where it is now to what we desire it to be. Thank you.
We should develop this project, Greening Africa, Inequality Infrastructure. We should start the concept note. Thank you very much. I would like to ask the participant if you can have a virtual applause to our panelists, please. A virtual applause. A virtual applause, please. Continue applauding. Thank you very much. And in concluding, before we go for the group photo, please don't go right away. I would like to just give a few information. One is that ARZO this year is supporting 100 SMEs to get the Africa Quality Mark, the ARZO Quality Mark. 100 SMEs will be supported to get that mark, 100% support using different certification body. Currently, we are working with Togo, Senegal, Rwanda, Zambia, Eswatini and Zimbabwe, and other countries are coming along. But this year is the target is helping 100 SMEs with ARZO quality mark. And we have also other SMEs that have requested to be supported to get EcoMark Africa, mainly in the value chains under the European Union deforestation regulation, in cocoa, in coffee, in palm oil, in rubber, in the wood, in beef, and the standards in all the 7 value chains under the EU deforestation regulation. You can Google that, EUDR. You will find the 7 value chains that will be impacted. All the standards have been developed and they will be approved by our ARZO Council this June. The council will be in Zanzibar this June 2025 during ARZO General Assembly event. Our 56th session for the webinar will be on the power of Africa's mineral resources for sustainable development. This is a very big topic. If we are talking about automotive value chain, we should also be talking about the minerals if we want to develop that value chain. If we are talking about the sustainability, we should be talking about minerals and how we can protect our environment. We will inform you the exact dates. Before it was 25th June, but due to the ARZO General Assembly event the same week, we might bring it forward 1 week for the June webinar. I would like also to take this opportunity to inform you once again, we will continue to circulate, to share with you the presentations, and we will send you the certificate. And those who don't normally receive the certificate, if you don't participate for more than 1 hour, which is 50%, because our webinars are scheduled for 2 hours, you don't receive the certificate. We have good participants who are at 50 certificates on our webinars. Congratulations for those ones. And I hope that the materials, you keep them and you use them. Then if you can put on your cameras, then we can have a beautiful photo. Remembering that we started this in COVID, but it continues to be a good gathering, having these photos on Zoom. Yeah. Dan, if you can take these photos. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope to see you in June. I see my friends all over from Germany. I see Kaiser. I see Alexio, Zimbabwe. I see from Turkey. Yeah, Ovut. I hope to see you in June. Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening or a lovely day. Thank you.
Take
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Queen, I'm here and she's saying hello.